So that's the G20 story, the story of what's possible with cooperation. But lately, that's been missing, cooperation. The G20 has become more about bickering than cooperating. Just look at the top two economies of the world, China and the United States. Both countries are busy sanctioning each other. It's hurting their economy, it's hurting their people, it's also hurting their big corporations like Apple. Reports say China is cracking down on iPhones. First, they asked central government employees to not use Apple iPhones. Why is that? Well, in typical Chinese style, no reason was given. Just listen and follow. But new reports say that the ban is being widened now. More employees have been asked to not use Apple iPhones, like those working at state-owned companies and those working in agencies linked to the government. Now, that's a lot of people. China has more than 150,000 state-owned enterprises. Put together, they employ millions of people. Imagine all of them shifting away from the iPhone. What would happen? Apple would lose a lot of customers. Their share prices have already fallen. They've fallen by almost 6% in 2 days. Almost $200 billion has been wiped out. $200 billion in 2 days tells you how big the Chinese market is for them. Apple does not release country-wise data for their sales, but most analysts quote the same number. They say China makes up around 19% of Apple sales. 19% of their market, almost a fifth. Any disruption in that market promises to be a problem. So what is China playing at? Well, in public, they're saying the same things, that foreign companies are still welcome in China. Listen to this.
China has always been determined to promote a high level of opening up to the outside world. Products and services from any country are welcome to enter the Chinese market as long as they comply with and meet the requirements of Chinese laws and regulations.
But clearly that's not the case, because this move goes beyond just the partial ban. It's about sending a message, a tit-for-tat message. In 2019, the US targeted China's flagship company, Huawei. It was sort of blacklisted. Washington told American companies, do not supply to Huawei if you must take permission from us. And this decision hampered Huawei's growth. It lost out on revenue worth $12 billion. So now China is taking revenge. What the US did to Huawei, China is trying to do to Apple. The timing is certainly suspect. Just last week, Huawei unveiled a new phone, the Mate 60 Pro. It's sort of like a sanction buster. I'll tell you why. The US has restricted Huawei's access to chips. This was done in 2019. Chip access was restricted 4 years back. So what did the company do? They built their own. And by the looks of it, it's a good one. Early tests show the Mate 60 Pro is faster than most 5G phones. So China could be hitting two birds with one stone. A, it's a blow to Apple, and B, it's a boost to Huawei. Analysts say Apple's China sales could dip by 5%. If that happens, there will be a gap in the market, and a gap that someone must fill. Someone with a shiny new phone that has a homemade chip. We'll talk about Huawei in a bit, but first, let's focus on Apple. What will be the long-term effect of these curbs? Could they actually hurt Apple? Well, the headline is not encouraging. Apple prides itself on privacy. In fact, it's one of the major selling points of Apple, their USP, that they ensure your privacy. So the ban on government employees is a bit unsettling. It will trigger rumors of snooping. Having said that, Apple is not Huawei. Just look at the difference in size. Huawei is worth around $160 billion and Apple, $2.8 trillion. It's a case of being too big to fall. Plus, Apple has some leverage over China. The company has invested $275 billion in the country since 2016. Apple has invested $275 billion in China. It has also created more than 5 million jobs. So Apple has some levers too. They're already shifting supply chains out of China. Such bans could speed up that process. As for Huawei, there is no time like now. Their new phone is the talk of the town. It has completely surprised American officials. Many of them are asking if the sanctions were not strong enough. Listen to the US National Security Advisor.
That the United States should continue on its course of a small yard, high fence set of technology restrictions focused narrowly on national security concerns, not on the broader question of commercial decoupling. That is where our emphasis has been. That's where it's going to continue, sort of regardless of the outcome.
That was on Tuesday. The latest update is this. America has started investigating Huawei's new chip. They want to figure out how Huawei made it. Did they sidestep American sanctions, or did they use their own skills and knowledge? Well, either way, one thing is clear, the sanctions war is not ending soon. In fact, it's just getting started. You could see more and more companies getting caught in the crossfire.